Hi everyone. So I thought I'd share with you some things that happened last night as I was putting the boys to bed. So we had some really good learning opportunities that I thought I might share with you. So I'd let the boys stay up later and watch the last episode of what they were wanting because I'd worked and got home earlier than I normally did, but still late for um, going to bed. So I wanted some connection time with them before putting them straight into bed, which I still classify as connection time with them. I just wanted kind of some chill out time before starting our bedtime routine. So we did that. I let them do that, and then we started to go off to bed. And my eldest wanted to look on my phone for his birthday presents, which is in March. And I said, look, buddy, I've let you stay up later so we could have some time together, just kind of chilling out and having snuggles on the lounge. It really is just time to go to sleep now. Tomorrow morning, I want to start buying your birthday presents, so we'll get on the big home computer and we'll get them exactly what you want, so I know what you want. And we'll get their army Lego sets, so he's very particular about which ones he wants, so I kind of need him there. And that didn't go down overly well with him because he'd had this dream and plan in his head, and then I was setting a limit and a boundary that was stopping his plan coming to fruition. And I don't know about you, but when my plans don't go to fruition as well, I struggle to cope with that change and that being adaptable enough to times to just go with the flow of what's happening. So, and I expect that, and I understand that for him, that it's an important part of teaching him adaptability and going with changing and respecting somebody else's boundaries and that are set. So we kind of, for him, he goes into a place of toxic shame, and I know him well enough that it's not to manipulate me, and his brain actually isn't developed enough to be doing that at this stage anyway. So it was kind of, I'm going to sleep on the floor because I don't deserve anything. So often when I set limits and ask for modifications of behavior with him, that's where he instantly goes, that he's an awful, terrible person who doesn't deserve anything, even if it's something really basic, like, I'm really happy to look at the toys with you tomorrow morning, just not now because it's too late because we've got to go to bed. That's where we go. So I dream into it with him, like, wouldn't it be awesome if we could do it right now and we could turn back the clocks, and that would mean that the time does change and we would have more time to do that. And I dream into his plan and into his dream with him to make him feel that I see him and to help him feel soothed, and that I'm not changing my boundary. I'm not changing the rule that I've set. I'm just dreaming into and feeling and seeing and helping him feel seen and soothed with me in that time. So we got around that, and he kind of started talking around dreaming bigger and into his story. And I could see then why it was so hard for him to adjust, because he'd had these whole extra worlds created and developed in this really short time. And me setting a limit was also impeding on all his future play for him, and all these extra worlds and characters and people that he had created, and me just saying no limited and stopped that. So I could see why it was so hard for him to limit and be adaptable and flow with the boundary that I was setting. So we kind of got into bed and we were all fine, and I was starting to do what we call like letters of the people, or ticklebacks, where I write words and letters and I, will just doodle on their backs. And he started to say, and it came out of nowhere because we kind of had a bit of a snuggle and connection time. And he said, I'm on the camp of said important person in our lives. I'm on their camp, and you're not going to be anything, mummy. You're not going to be successful. You're not going to be anything you're going to not help us, be rich. You're not going to be successful. You're nothing, mummy. And it just came out of nowhere. And I sat there for a minute, took some deep breaths, and could acknowledge that this wasn't about me as such, but in that moment, it triggered all of my internal voices, my internal critical voice, my internal bully voice, my internal sad voice, everything. And they know, and we kind of have sayings around and adults tuning in, self-tuning in, and kids self-tuning in. So I said, mummy's internal bully voice and critical voice and sad voice are really yelling at me right now. I need to go and look after my feelings. I will be back. I know, and I knew at that time, that wouldn't go down overly well with him because he doesn't like being left. He particularly doesn't like being left in his bedroom at night, even with night lights on. So, but I had to outweigh what internally was happening for me, and that I needed to go and do some emotional regulation and self-care so I could put them to bed in the way that I wanted, and that they needed me to show up because I was about to show up as not my best mummy self that I want to show up for them. So I stood up and left the room. He starts instantly following me, as I had thought would happen, asking me where I'm going, what am I doing, and I picked up their dirty clothes. I'm like, I'm going to the laundry, then I'm going to my bedroom because mummy's voices, inside voices, are really loud, and some things that you've just said have triggered them talking to me really loudly, and I'm feeling really hurt, and I need to go and look after my hurt. Then he was like, I didn't know that what I was saying would hurt you, mummy. And I said, I know, darling, and that's okay, but my inside bully voices are still really loud and I need to go and look after them. So I went to the laundry, and then I went to my meditation cushion in my room, which you can see me when I sit on it on the other side of my bed, but in his panic and his dysregulated state, he actually couldn't see where I was. So he was kind of running around the house in distress, searching and yelling and crying for me. And once, it didn't take long for that to happen. And as soon as I answered him and he knew where I was, he kind of came in, and his distress was higher than my distress, which is a constant thing we have to be looking at. So I put my internal bully voices and my needs aside and met his. And I just cuddled him, and I just said, I'm safe, you're safe, you're safe, you're safe, I'm not leaving you, I'm here, you're safe. I don't like you're okay, or it's going to be okay, because in that moment for him, things weren't okay. I knew that he was feeling that, and he fears that I'm going to leave him. So I knew that I needed to reassure him, I'm not leaving, I'm here and you're safe. I'm here and you're safe. I'm here and you're safe, because at that moment in time, his nervous system had gone into fight and flight. And I knew that I needed to calm that part of his brain down. And I just kept saying over and over and again until he was calm enough and a bit more centered and regulated himself, and his brain was back into a more regulated, integrated state. And then we kind of made an agreement that when mummy's voice, internal voices get really loud, and I'm going to look after myself, because that's what my job is as his mummy, is that we made an agreement that when I need to do that, that I go to my meditation cushion, and that is where I'll be. So he doesn't have to worry about where I am, because if I've said I'm about to not become my best mummy self and I need to go and look after my feelings, that he knows exactly where I'm going. And we previously arranged, because he knows that I come back. I love you and I'm coming back. But in the initial stages of when we were implementing this, I'm coming back was too long, and they don't have an understanding of time. So it was kind of, I'm going to put my headphones on and I'm going to listen to one song. At the end of that song, I'm coming back to you. So, and as most kids do, they don't actually leave me alone, but he still knows that it's one song. And that's enough. He can't hear the song because I'm putting my earphones in, so I'm really centering into me and what's happening for me. You know, plain analogy, I'm putting my face mask on first so I can help them. So he knows that. So he knows that I'm going to have one song and exactly the place I'm going to be, that I'm not leaving the house. This is exactly where I'm going to go. So if he's starting to fear that I've left, he knows to go straight to my meditation cushion, and that is where I'll be. And that's where I'll find him. Once he was regulated and his brain was back being integrated, we ended up having a great discussion around where's my place that I go when I'm feeling overwhelmed and my internal voices are really yelling at me. So we've talked around that he asked if he could come to the meditation cushion as well. I said, absolutely, that's where we both can go. We can have that agreement that that's where we go, if that's where he feels that he will be safe and that he will be able to kind of connect back to himself. And then as his beautiful brain does, he went into the future and was kind of like, but what about when I'm an adult? Where's going to be my safe place then? What am I going to do when I've got kids? Where am I going to go? You know, and for him, it was coming back to me, which is really lovely, but also kind of, we'll get there. We're, almost 8, so I don't, we'll get there. He goes, well, I'll tell my kids that I'm coming back to you and we're going to watch some cartoons. And this is, I'm going to have that agreement with them that when I'm getting really overwhelmed, that I go to mummy and we watch cartoons. Beautiful, darling. I love that plan. It's a really good plan going. I don't think as an adult, when you've got your own kids, you'll be wanting to come back to mummy to watch cartoons. But in that moment, I just again dreamed into it with him and allowed him to have that experience and that anchoring, because in that moment, that's what he needed. He needed to know that his future was safe. And I didn't need to correct, you don't want to watch cartoons with mummy when you've got your own family and kids, buddy. That's not the point. The point is that he was trying to need to feel safe right now, and he needed to kind of have something to anchor into the future that he will know, I'm always going to have my safe place that I can go to, and everybody around me will know that this is what I do. This is something that's concrete. This is something that works. This is something that's making me feel calm and safe and okay. So I kind of was like, beautiful, that's what we're going to do. And we stood up and we went back to bed and he was asleep in 5 minutes. So, and it wasn't actually any later, or slightly later, but not that much later than when he would normally going to bed. Even though we kind of had this tumultuous time in there, we ended up actually having really good conversations, learning opportunities on both fronts. I learnt about him. We made some really good agreements between everybody that, together about how to feel safe and how we talk to each other, and that the things that he had said were triggering for me and were upsetting, and not that that was his intention, but that's what I had started to roll this movie in my head from what he had said. And that's for me to look at and me to explore and for me to heal around my worth and my ability to be successful and to provide for them. That's my stuff, not his, and it was a great opportunity for us to connect. And it could have been an opportunity just to rupture our relationship and not mend it in any way. And I could have got on my horse and felt offended and, lashed out at him around, don't you say that to me, yes I am, and justifying and telling him how he's wrong and how this important figure in his life is also wrong and how dare they speak to me about like that. But it wasn't the point, and it wasn't I didn't want to rupture the relationship. I wanted to connect more with me. And why was this triggering me? I thought I dealt with all of this stuff, but why was my movie being played again? Why was my internal voices being turned on by things that he was saying? That's for me to deal and heal with. And he just gave me that lesson. So it was a learning opportunity for me, a learning opportunity for him around words and how we say them and how that can impact somebody else. So teaching him empathy and compassion explicitly, and that my feelings are for me to deal with. And that's why I do a self-tuning in and a self-timeout. And then we got some really good grounding relationship boundaries around, this is where mummy goes, this is what mummy does, this is how mummy's self-caring, this is how mummy looks after herself, this is how mummy self-regulates, which is what I want for him. So I was so proud of him when he bled it into how he can implement those same strategies into his own life for now, but also how he's projecting and goal planning for the future of how he will do that. So I think, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to share. And I guess the overall concept is sometimes that we need to have our own boundaries and look at that it's not about us sometimes. And then when it is and we're triggered, that's for us, not for them to be condemned or shamed or anything else. That it's, if we're being triggered by something they're saying, how can we teach them and how can we teach and learn ourselves? So yeah, thanks guys.